What's up, guys? This is Jason. Welcome back to the basement. So, want to do a retrospect on an event that I did recently. About 2 weeks ago, I did an event for Hudson County here in New Jersey at a local park. They had a cultural celebration for the history of Jersey City, which is where I live in my hometown. And it was an event to just talk about the city's services and some of the the vendors that they have in the city and things that they do, and just kind of spread the culture. So I was tasked with documenting the day and getting photos for the city that they will use for their social media and for their website. So didn't know I did have an itinerary, but anytime I have an event, I want to have full coverage. So I bring pretty good amount of gear. I carried my Hex Ranger DSLR sling. That's been my trusty bag for whenever I want to keep stuff on me, and I got a lot of stuff. It's an 8-liter bag, so it was definitely dependable. Actually, let me go get it. Got it right here. So the Hex Ranger DSLR bag, had this packed out with 2 cameras, which I'll talk about, and I had about 3 lenses. Just had this on my back the entire. It was about 3.5 hours, so I had this on me the entire time, and definitely worked out well. It's well made. It was comfortable, the right size to carry all the stuff I had. Had my phone in here too, some extra batteries, cables, power bank, just in case anything happened. I got my turtle shell basically. This is what that was kind of doing for me. So worked out well. So besides that, let's talk about the camera. So it was an outdoor event, so plenty of light. It was a sunny day, weather was great, no issues in that regard. So fast lenses weren't needed, but I brought my hitters with me just in case. So first camera, my main camera was the XT2, and I had the battery grip on because I know I was going to use this probably, I'd say 3/4 of the time. And so, yeah, I had the battery grip on to give me 2 extra batteries, which gave me a total of 3 batteries. Lasted the whole 3 hours, no sweat. And didn't even use more than 1 battery probably. So, but I had this with the Sigma 18-50 lens. Great lens. Compact for this body. It's a perfect fit, really. Like, XT2 is not a huge camera, it doesn't have a huge grip, so you're definitely going to want to rig it up. I use the battery grip to give me a little bit of extra hold, especially you're going to have it in your hand for a while, and around my neck, which I did. So, but the 18-50 was a perfect lens to do most of the work because I got the wide at 18, which gives me 27mm equivalent. And then I got the 50 to give me a little bit of telephoto for like those, maybe a little closed in, at 75 equivalent. So beautiful lens. I mean, if you don't got this lens for Fuji, you're going to have to get it. I really don't think I would ever get that 16-55. It's just big. I don't really need the 2mm in the front, and I definitely don't need the 5mm in the back. Use your feet. Actually saving on some weight and size, compactness. Really can do professional work as well as travel because of the compactness of the lens. So really recommend this lens. I really love this Sigma 18-50 lens. Almost makes me rethink my Tamron 17-70 because I do have that lens, but because I do a lot of food photography and that has the built-in image stabilization, and I like to use my XT2 when I do food photography, that could be the reason why I still own it. But when I think about using the XS10 for food photography, I could pair it with this 18-50. It has the built-in stabilization with the XS10. You don't need it in the lens, so could be a reason for that to go. Plus, with the other plenty of primes that I own, I'm covered multiple times over. So something to think about for the future. Made me that Tamron lens could go towards another purchase, another interesting aspect of my photography setup. So we'll see. But yeah, so the event had a lot of tents. It had a stage. And so there definitely were a lot of different angles to consider. There were times where I needed to get close and get a group shot. There were stuff where I wanted to get candid far away shots. There was a stage where there was a whole band performing. 2 different bands performed. There was, you know, some people enjoying the band. There were passerby, you know, people in the park who would pass by to, you know, attend the event and kind of browse around the tents. So there was a lot of different situations. And when you're doing documentary photography, you have to have versatility. And that's why I brought this camera, this lens, and the other camera and lens, which I'm going to talk about, to kind of give me that full coverage. And I carried both of them on me. So I had this one around my neck. So I had a neck strap on. So I had the Hex Ranger sling on that housed the extra stuff in case I needed it, including the second camera whenever I wanted to use it. And then I had this around my neck for primary use. And then I had, which I'll talk about my other camera, had my X Pro 2 with the Viltrox 85mm 1.8 Mark II, the second version of it. And this was did all my telephoto work. So this kind of covered me from getting, you know, the stage, you know, when I wanted to be candid and not interfere, not be involved in what was going on. I wanted to kind of step back and just kind of document, you know, what was happening. This gives me 130 millimeters roughly, something like that. So I'm stepping back and I'm capturing shots, you know, from far away. People notice me because I'm officially there for, you know, for Hudson County, for the city to do, you know, official work. But I'm not interfering with them as much by being far away and using this lens. So I think there's very few times where I've used this for a documentary work outside. I've done it for events indoors. Sometimes I just use the Tamron 17-70 because that gives me that 25-105 equivalent. But you know, a lot of times I'll shoot with a second shooter, and then I'll have them kind of shooting at their long end, and I'll shoot at the tight end, at the wide end, and we'll kind of meet there. If I'm shooting solo, I'll just use my one standard zoom and kind of have that 24-105 quote unquote kind of coverage. But decided to go 2 cameras and give this baby some use that doesn't get a lot of love, not a lot of use these days. And it worked out perfect. I like this Viltrox. Only thing I wish about it wasn't so big. It's not overly heavy, and it's not unyieldy even on this rangefinder X Pro 2. But it definitely is not made for APS-C. This is made for full frame. You can see that the mount itself, like right here, this wasn't made for APS-C. This was made for full frame, and then they kind of retrofitted these for APS-C. So I think if this was made for APS-C, this would be an excellent, you know, smaller size lens. And I'm hoping that people take notice of it, because I have been noticing that Samyang has a f1.8 version 75mm, which I think is made for APS-C. I don't think that's a full frame made kind of lens. And I hope that Fuji kind of releases in the vein of all the other f2 lenses, a 75 or 80 f2, you know, compact telephoto. I don't think they'll ever do it. They're probably not thinking about anything like that at this point. But it would fit this a lot better. It would fit the APS-C system a lot better. This is a big honking lens, and yeah, it looks nice to clients. You know, bigger is better, right? You know, but it doesn't really help you on your back. So anyway, it performed well. I love this combination. It honestly, what I was surprised about is the ergonomics of the X Pro 2 seemed to be better than the XT2. In my hand, it feels better. Like, there's little details that I like. Like on the grip of the X Pro 2, there's like this rubber inside, like this leather right here, but then inside the I guess the outline of it is like a little bit of rubber, so it kind of fits in your palm, you know, pretty well. And then because it's flat at the top, it kind of goes in your bag easier, it doesn't protrude. Especially if you got small lenses, it doesn't really take up much space. You know, I used to think my XC3, which is smaller than this, because I was using that, I used to think the X Pro 2 was big. But now that I don't have the XC3 and I've been using the X Pro 2 as my main, you know, daily driver, rangefinder body, I realized it's not that big. It's just I was using something that was, you know, smaller all the time, that my muscle memory just didn't get used to the size. But now I realize this ain't a big camera, you know? It's not big at all, and it has a smaller feel because the top is flat. So that's a great thing. And so, yeah, everything performed well. So I have another job for the city, for the county this week. So I'll be doing that. But I think this time I'm going to bring the Micro Four Thirds camera and use the 35-100 lens for the telephoto work to get a little bit more reach, because I'll be at the 200 with that 35-100 for, you know, for Micro Four Thirds. And it's a little slow. It's a slower lens, f4 to 5.6, but I was shooting at about f4. Yeah, I was shooting about f4 the whole time with this because it was such a bright day. Can't shoot at 1.8. Don't really need to. Needed the depth of field. Needed to kind of focus faster. So the more depth of field it has, the easier it can do that. And yeah, everything worked out. And still with this focal length, you're still gonna get some separation, some layers. So it worked out nicely. So very good, very good. So yep, I'm probably gonna go with the XT2 again with the 18-50, and I'm gonna use the Panasonic GX85 with the 35-100. So that's all I got to say. Love them. I just want to talk about my experience. You know, if you use that combination, let me know your thoughts. See y'all in the next one.